Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Until Jacksonville podcast. My name is Andrew Mayne, your host tonight. It is just me tonight, still running into more scheduling conflicts. See, my co-hosts, they're Gator fans, and like a lot of Gator fans, they've completely just given up on this season. They're just ready for 2026. Probably not even that, because they're probably about to fire their coach and they're probably about to clean house. So they're really looking towards like 2028. So we'll see if they stick around or not. But I'm going to keep going because there is so much football to talk about. And hey, y'all are interested. Y'all want to hear this. And I know y'all are as excited as I am. I am battling my flu game today. I all week since probably Sunday morning have been struggling with all types of sinus stuff and throat stuff, and this is the best I've sounded in about 3 days. And this morning I could honestly barely speak, but I've been pushing through, and I couldn't let a whole week go by without us talking some ball. So I'm here, y'all are here. We're gonna have a great time going over all these football games from last week and talk about the games for next week. Normally like to break these up into two separate episodes, but we're going to put it all in one tonight. So I have 6 pages of notes to go through. Try not to make this podcast for 2 hours because my throat can't handle that tonight. But I've had some green tea this afternoon. I've drank a lot of water. I'll probably have to take more water breaks than normal, but we're going to push through and we're going to have a great time because we have an absolutely loaded show. First of all, right when we go into the week 3 games from last week, I just want to give myself credit. I don't ask for much. I just ask for all of the credit and none of the blame. And I believe you should pat yourself on the back whenever you do things correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and pat myself on the back there for podcast listeners. I don't know if you heard that or not, but that was me just patting my back. Last week, I predicted 6 games for this college football slate, and I went 6-0. I picked Georgia to beat Tennessee. They did. I picked LSU to beat Florida. They did. I picked A&M to beat Notre Dame. It was close, but they did. I picked Miami to beat USF. I didn't think that'd be close, and it was not close. Miami ran away with it. A couple of my, iffy picks that were not popular and didn't look pretty beforehand were Georgia Tech over Clemson and Vanderbilt over South Carolina. And that's one of those picks that people didn't agree with, but then they ended up being true and they realized, man, Andrew knows ball. Andrew seems to predict everything right. Other than that FSU Bama game week 1, which everyone was wrong about, I feel like I've been pretty spot on with all these games. So I'm excited that I can perform at such a high level and hopefully we can keep that going. I'm going to jump into some reactions here. I'm going to start with the biggest game of the weekend, Georgia against Tennessee. This was in Knoxville, top 15 matchup, and I had a good time watching this game. At first, it was not looking pretty. That Tennessee offense was very explosive, made offense look easy against a very good defense. And going into the game, my concern was I think Georgia's defense is going to be fine. We typically have been fine against Josh Heupel, but I'm worried about what our offense can do. If we get in a shootout, I don't know how that's going to go for us. I thought we'd win by 2 or 3 scores, and they jumped up on us. And I think a huge reason why their offense has been so good this year and was so good against Georgia, I broke down a little bit of kind of the way their offense works, and they like to take deep shots down the field, but they really like to run the ball. And the reason being is if you can stay ahead of the sticks, you have 3 yards to get 10 plays. And if you throw an incomplete pass on the first one, now all of a sudden you need 10 yards in 2 plays, and it kind of gets you behind schedule. So what teams like to do, especially if they want to take a shot, is they want to go ahead and try to get 5 or 6 yards to make, hey, if we throw an incompletion here, that 3rd down is going to be manageable. It's not going to be a 3rd and long where they know we're passing. If we can live in 2nd and 3, 2nd and 4, and then take a shot on that down and then do whatever we need to on 3rd down if that's incomplete, that's where you want to live. I had a defense coordinator in high school. Shout out to Coach Lamond. And he said that 2nd and 5 is the best play in football because when it's 2nd and 5, you still have 2 downs to get 5 yards. So some teams, you'll go ahead and try to get that 1st down or at least make it even closer. Some teams will take a shot because, hey, if you throw an incompletion, at least you're living in 3rd and 5, and that's not that hard to convert. So when you're able to stay on schedule, that's when they could be really dangerous. And kind of going into the game, I talked about how I don't know how their run game would do, but they've been doing a lot of other things other than running the ball to stay ahead of the sticks with their screen games, with their RPOs, doing a lot of kind of different choice routes with RPOs that were very effective in their first couple games. And I thought if Georgia's not able to stop that, could be a long day. And they did a good job of staying ahead of the sticks and living in third and manageable so that they could take those shots on second down. So they were really good on first down overall, and then very explosive when they did take their shots. I think there was a couple situations where DBs for Georgia were just left a one-on-one. Defense played great, but one player just didn't make either good timing on the jump to try to stop the deep ball, or guy fell down because the ball was underthrown and he's trying to adjust to it and he falls down. Certain things like that really hurt them, but Tennessee, give them a ton of credit. They played very well. Joey Aguilar is an absolute stud. Preseason, I talked about how he would be better than Nico, and so far that has been true. But that was really the biggest difference for me when it came to Tennessee moving the ball. Now, Georgia's offense, you really didn't see a lot of explosiveness the first 2 weeks. It was against lesser competition. You don't really know how to judge it. So this was for Georgia's first really key matchup. And going into this, I felt a little confident because Tennessee likes to run man defense. They like to say, my guy can beat your guy, and we're going to win today. And they were down their first two corners. First string and second string corners were out, so they had a couple freshmen starting at corner for them, and they still played super confident and played man coverage, and Georgia made them pay for it. I mean, first play of the game, Colby Young one-on-one down the sideline, catches like a 60-yard reception and really sets them up to have a great drive, which ends in a touchdown. And there were several different points of the game where you look at a lot of the pivotal moments in this game, and they were in man-to-man coverage, and Georgia schemed around that. Mike Bobo gets a lot of hate from Georgia fans, which I still don't understand. And we had a great offensive day. So a couple drives didn't result in much, but it's football. No one scores against a good defense on every single drive. I didn't like that we settled for so many field goals, especially in the second half. But also, if any of those you go for it on fourth down and you don't get it and you don't take those 3 points, then the end of the game, that missed field goal for Tennessee doesn't matter because they're already ahead. They're only worried about melting down the clock, not that, and getting into field goal position and trying to hit that field goal. So you needed every point you could in this game. And I think it was great on Georgia's part of stopping Tennessee's offense. Kind of that second, third quarter gave Georgia's offense time to catch up, get back in the game, even take the lead. And then Tennessee finally responds back, takes the lead. Georgia takes the lead again. It was very back and forth, that kind of second half. As soon as the field goal was missed, I felt in my soul that Georgia was going to come out on top. I think they had the better roster. I think I just trusted them more in that situation. They stopped Tennessee. They forced a field goal. First play of overtime for Georgia on offense, 21-yard run. 2 plays later, pounded in the goal, touchdown, game over. They survived. And typically in previous Georgia years and previous eras under Georgia football, these are the types of games Georgia would just lose. You go on the road, the other team is playing on fire. They're playing perfect football. Georgia's not necessarily playing perfect football, and you get down 2 or 3 scores and you just end up stalling out and you end up losing the game. That's how typically that's gone. But in this recent Kirby Smart era, those are games that you can't give up on because they will fight back and they will play with their hair on fire and they will make adjustments and they'll come back in the football game like they did with this one. Going into the football game, if you'd have told me Georgia has 38 points in regulation, I would have said, man, Georgia blows out Tennessee. But also, if you'd have told me Tennessee had 38 points of regulation, I would have told you we lost by 17 points. I didn't think that I didn't think this would be a super high-scoring game. I don't think if either of these teams got over 30, I thought they were the winning team. Ended up being a bit of a shootout. Was an absolutely great game. Maybe the best game of the year whenever we look back on it. If not the best, it's going to be definitely up there in that top slot, those top couple games for sure. But there's so many good football games coming later in the year. Man, I already feel my voice going out, and we have so many more football games to talk about. So I wish I had my bros with me for this game. Florida at LSU. It was as ugly as, I don't know. It was about as ugly as it can get from the quarterback perspective. I think DJ Lagway, obviously there was so much stock in him coming into the season. Everyone thought he was going to be great. My issues with him or my concerns were he hasn't really practiced. He's always been banged up. And I was worried that I hate Florida. I want them to lose. But for him to be successful, my concern was that I didn't think that they would be able to really look clean, that he wouldn't really look clean. He wouldn't really look like a guy who's been here, done that, returning starter. He'd look like a freshman still, which is exactly how he looked in this football game. He had 5 interceptions. So this game was going on at the same time as the South Carolina Vanderbilt game, and I was at the South Carolina Vanderbilt game, and we'll get to that game later. But I was kind of keeping up with the score on this game, but other than that, I wasn't really keeping up with really the stats, just the score. It was really close for a while, and I got back at the end of the night, and I missed the very end of the Georgia-Tennessee game. So when I finally got back that night, like midnight, I sat there on my TV, watched the end of the Georgia game that I missed, saw us pull it off, and I went to bed. Next morning, I'm trying to see what I missed that night, and I saw a meme about DJ Lagway throwing 5 interceptions, and I thought, as most of you would who didn't watch the game, this has got to be an exaggeration. He didn't actually throw 5 interceptions. So I go to the box score, and yes, he threw 5 interceptions. So then I thought, okay, how many of these were his fault? Because sometimes the guys and quarterbacks throw interceptions. Sometimes you see it and you go, okay, well, he hit the guy, but then he dropped it, went up in the air, the safety caught it, or he got hit as he throws. So, he just ended up floating up in the air, and a linebacker picked it off. All 5 of these were him just ripping it exactly where he wanted to go, but it was a horrible decision. Now, I kind of compared this to, someone who always plays on the easiest difficulty on a football video game, and then one day they decide to try the hardest difficulty, and they're like, oh, DJ Lagway is a good quarterback. He has good stats. He has a strong arm. I'm going to go crazy today. And then you just kept forcing the ball. My game plan for Florida in this game was, if you want to win, you better give Jaden Ball 30-plus carries. You better lean on that run game. Don't ask too much of DJ Lagway, and you might escape out of this game with a win. And you may think, that sounds reasonable. Try not to lose the game. You're not trying to win the game, but you're not trying to lose the game. Trying to keep it close. Play good defense. Trust your defense. They gave Jaden Ball 10 carries. On the season, he's averaging, I believe it's 6.5 yards a carry. He's done really well all season, and they just don't feed him. He is their best offensive weapon, in my opinion. They have some good receivers, but their running back, Jaden Ball, is a dude. I would have ran the ball as much as I could in this game, especially once DJ Lagway threw those first couple interceptions. I would have thought, hey, obviously he's not dialed in today, so let's kind of bring the reins back a little bit. Let's depend on our run game, trust in our defense. Maybe we can squeak out a win here. And they didn't do that. I mean, I think he had 43 pass attempts in this game. They kept letting him throw it. It kept not going well. They moved the ball, but they couldn't do much. And scoring-wise, LSU's offense was a huge, I guess, kind of question mark for me with this. Their offense has been bad this year, guys. I thought this year, kind of going into the year, my take was I thought they would start the year a little slow and kind of ramp up, and by the time you get halfway through the year, they'd be a well-oiled machine that they would be very hard to beat. And I kind of pictured it like a train, kind of just slowly ramping up, and then once it gets going, you're not stopping it. It has not even started to move off the tracks. It has not even started to turn. No train whistle has been blown yet. It's just still sitting there. And in this game, their offense had 13 points. They had 5 turnovers. You got 5 gifted interceptions. One was a pick 6. Other than that, you didn't do much with the other 4 possessions. So I did read that Garrett Nussmeier has some type of injury, seems kind of middle of his body, some type of, I guess, oblique or something with his abdomen, something like that. I don't know. I haven't read a ton on this, but Maybe that could show some of the reason why, but they haven't really been good at running the ball. And again, Florida has a good defense, but I'm still shocked that LSU's offense hasn't been as good as we were expecting it to be. But that's my biggest question for LSU going forward is how sustainable can they have on the offensive side of the ball? How consistent can they be? I don't know. Can they establish any type of run game? Because no matter how good your quarterback is, no matter how good your weapons are, they're not protecting. The offensive line is not protecting Garrett Nussmeier. They're not establishing a run game, which makes it really hard to move the ball in passing or running. So defense has been better. I'm still concerned for LSU. Florida, I have no idea, dude. It's bad. I think it's pretty bad. I think it felt like the team sucked, but at least you had DJ Lagway coming into the year, and he's been a super disappointing quarterback. I mean, if I was him, I'd be like, hey guys, my shoulder's hurting. I can't throw this week. Shut it down the rest of the year. Take that red shirt and go to a program that's better. Actually, I take that back. I just said that he needs as many game reps as he can. So we'll see. I don't think they'll fire Napier as early as I was expecting at first, just because with all the changes in NIL coming that has kind of happened towards the end of the summer here, basically the whole league, all of college football is under a salary cap essentially. So for these SEC teams, 90% of these guys' salaries were paid before the season even started so that they didn't have to get it checked and go through certain kind of windows and some obstacles and all these things to try to pay the guys, and they kind of just went and got out of the way. These guys, I mean, they already got their money, and if Napier gets fired and they've only played 4 games, those guys can just say, all right, I'm a redshirt. I'm not playing the rest of the year, and then I'll go transfer somewhere. And it could get really ugly, and you could have a question similar to UCLA and Virginia Tech. If enough guys leave, are they going to be able to field a team? We don't know. And the schedule's already bad enough with a full roster. So I don't know. I mean, DJ Lagway really needs to improve for them to have anything. My thought of him was if he can be really elite, he can drag this team to a good season. I just didn't think he'd be able to do that, especially early in the year. So far, it's been right, but even I was hesitant, but he's been so much worse than I even thought. But yeah, I was correct on that one. Another game I was correct on. Vanderbilt at South Carolina. I was at this game, watching the end of the Georgia-Tennessee game going up into the stadium. It was my first ever football game in Williams-Brice Stadium. I did go to the spring game this past year because it was free, but my wife and I went. She was really wanting to go. She's starting to get into football, and I'm trying to take every advantage of that opportunity as much as I can. If she wants to watch football and she wants to try to understand football, then I'm here for it because it's going to make my life a lot easier and more fun in the long run. So I was like, yeah, I did make a mistake in this because we were talking about it on Thursday night. I know this is completely sidetracked and none of you care about this, but I'll say it anyway. It was like Thursday night, me and her were going on date night, and we were talking about going to this game. And at the time, the cheapest tickets were like $80 a piece. And we're like, that's not too bad. It's an SEC opponent. I was telling her I think it's going to be a good game. I think Vanderbilt's actually going to win. And she was like, I would like to go. And so I was like, well, let's just wait till tomorrow, see if tickets maybe get a little bit cheaper. But all the cheap tickets got bought out. And so every 30 minutes or so, I kept checking the ticket prices, and all the cheapest ones kept going. So we ended up paying pretty much double what we wanted to going into it. So that was very unfortunate, but it was still super sick to go see Williams-Brice Stadium in person, to be able to see Sandstorm in person, an absolutely electric atmosphere. It was awesome. But my exact issues with South Carolina coming into the year and even into this game were offensive line. Offense is not consistent, is very boom or bust. They just seem to either do bad or good, but it's never just solid in the middle. Yeah, and that's kind of how it went. Vanderbilt goes down the field and scores. South Carolina immediately goes down and responds. After that, they kind of just kept having decent drives, but they just weren't able to punch it in. Lenore Sellers had a bad interception towards the goal line. They missed a field goal. Just couldn't really get the offense going great. And Vanderbilt was just steady, had a solid run game. I think Pavia did a great job of keeping them on time. If they had a 1-yard run and you're in 2nd and 9, then he'd deliver a 10-yard strike to get him a first down. several times it'd be 3rd and long. And I mean, there was one time late in the game, it was probably a 3rd and 15 or something like that. It was a long way to go. Oh. And Pavia delivered a strike, and they got probably 20 yards and converted the sticks. So it's very impressive. Vanderbilt, they look like they could beat anyone. Anyone on their schedule, if you're playing Vanderbilt, watch out because they are completely good enough. It's not just Pavia. Pavia is a great quarterback, but the team around him is good. Offensive line is good. Running backs are good. Weapons are good. Defense is good. So I would continue to keep an eye on them. If they play your favorite team, I'd hold my breath. South Carolina, again, it was just a lack of consistency on offense. Once Sellers got hurt towards the end of the first half, you didn't really have much going for you at that point, and it was rough from there. So I was disappointed to see him get out. I don't know if he's supposed to play this game or not. He was under concussion protocol. So they're still even on the fence if he'll play this week. If not, then it'll be Luke Doty. We'll see. It's bad time to be a Gamecock. But I will give a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel for any South Carolina fans listening. South Carolina under Shane Beamer has been very much we come into the year with high expectations. Then we do really bad. And then when everyone thinks you suck, you start beating teams you shouldn't. And then at the end of the year, you're saying, man, we were one of the hottest teams in football. We didn't make the playoff, but no one would have wanted to play us in the playoffs, which is how it's been recently. I mean, I think of 2022 when they were not that good, and then they ended up destroying a really good Tennessee team that was about to make the playoff. They ended up beating Clemson that same year. They ended the year super high, and then going in the next year just was bad. Last year, very similar. They start off the year, I mean, they got ugly. It looked ugly against Old Dominion. Then they beat Kentucky pretty bad, and you're thinking, oh, okay, they're good. And then they get destroyed by Ole Miss, and you're like, oh, never mind, they are bad. And then they destroy Oklahoma on the road. And you think, oh, no, never mind, they're good. And he just keeps going. They almost beat Alabama, but I mean, late in the year, I think they won 6 or 7 straight, maybe 8. I don't know. They went on a tear late in that season. This could just be the South Carolina formula. Is everyone's down on you right now, and then he's like little South Carolina. No one believes in us, and then they do really well to end the year. But I think that offensive line is going to be a weakness for them for the rest of the year. So I don't see it getting much better. They were looking to make the playoff. I do not think they are a playoff team at all. But yeah, that was another game that I was correct on. Miami and USF, I won't spend a ton of time on this game. Carson Beck is dialed, has been all year, looks so good. Their defense is great. I didn't think USF put up much of a fight, and they didn't. Only reason why I want to talk about this game is just because I want to let everyone know again that I was right on another game. Texas A&M Notre Dame was a great game as well. I was watching this while Autumn was driving and we were leaving the stadium. So we're sitting in bumper to bumper traffic, and I'm just glued on my phone watching this game. Marcel Reed throwing the ball was I've said boomer bust a couple times, very much boomer bust. I think he threw for like 45%. He had 17 completions, but 360 yards. So when he did complete it, he was getting you a big play. And I think he did enough with his legs. The run game was solid. Both run games were solid for this. I mean, I think they averaged 4 yards a carry. Notre Dame averaged, I think, 3.9. So really even matchup, two really good teams, I think. It's funny because the end of the game, for anyone who didn't watch, Notre Dame, this is about the time that I tuned in whenever I was watching it live. Notre Dame goes down and scores touchdown with a little over 2 minutes left in the game. And so they are up by 6. They go to kick the extra point, and the backup quarterback drops the ball, mishandles it, and they end up not getting the extra point. So Texas A&M knows that we score a touchdown, the extra point, we win the game. And so Notre Dame kicks it off to Texas A&M. Texas A&M gets a kickoff return for a touchdown to respond immediately. But the thing that sucked is there was a flag and the kickoff came back, so they had to drive all the way down the field for that game-winning score. But also, if they would have done that, I feel like it would have been kind of bad because you give Notre Dame over 2 minutes and they're down by 1 point. All they got to do is get in field goal range. I think Notre Dame probably would have won the game if that would have happened. But instead, Texas A&M gets the ball. They drive all the way down the field. They melt a lot of clock. And they came out of that game with a win, scored right at the end of the game, got the extra point, won the game. It was really good. I think A&M's really good this year. I think Notre Dame's solid, but their schedule is so easy the rest of the way. And even if they win the next 10 games in a row, I don't know if your schedule is going to be strong enough to say, man, we should make the playoff because your two best opponents you lost to. So kind of just sucks for them because of all these teams going to these bigger conferences. Everyone's conference schedule is getting harder. They're not in a conference, so it's just harder for them to schedule those games. But was really happy to see what I saw from CJ Carr and Marcel Reed, two really good quarterbacks and two really good teams. So that was a very fun game to watch. If you don't watch it, I recommend watching the highlights. But yeah, I picked Texas A&M in that game. Last game from last week to preview or to talk about, to recap, was Clemson and Georgia Tech. Yet another game that I got correct. And man, this was a fun game to watch. And pretty much exactly the reasoning behind me picking Georgia Tech was pretty much why it happened. Clemson's offense is just stagnant. It's not great. Late in the game, they had a few explosives to really make the yardage look a lot better, but also put up some points. But coming out the beginning of this game, Georgia Tech just controlled the ball, controlled the game, they controlled the clock. And Haynes King is a dog. He is a dude. And basically came down to it being a 21-21 game late in the game. Final drive, can Georgia Tech go down, get a field goal as time expires? And as soon as they started that drive, I just felt in my soul that Haynes King was about to have a game-winning drive. That's exactly what they did. They run all the way down the field. As the clock is ticking, time is about to expire, run the field goal unit out, kick it, end up getting it. They win the game by 3. Clemson's 1-2. It's looking rough for them. Georgia Tech has a very manageable schedule. They don't have to play FSU. They don't have to play Miami. They don't have to play Louisville. They don't have to play SMU. So they got a really good pull when it came to ACC scheduling. I think Georgia Tech could be undefeated going into the game against Georgia, even if they drop one some point in the year. I mean, you're talking about even, assuming they lose to Georgia. I mean, that's not going to be an easy game necessarily. Almost beat us last year. But there is a chance they go into that game with one loss. I think Georgia Tech is going to play in the ACC championship game. Stamp it now. As recording this, it's September 18th on a Thursday, 7:56 p.m. right now. Georgia Tech is going to play in the ACC championship game, probably against either FSU or Miami. Luckily, those two teams play each other, so we will have to find out which of those teams is better. But yeah, not looking good at Clemson, looking really good at Georgia Tech. And again, I was correct. That was my full sweep. All right, jumping into week 4. I don't know if my voice is going to last, but we will try. Oklahoma, ranked 11th in the country, is playing Auburn. Both of these teams are undefeated. Auburn's best win was against Baylor, very solid Big 12 team. Oklahoma's best win was against Michigan, pretty good Big 10 team. I really like their run game, their defense, all that. Oklahoma, I really like this year. And their schedule in the SEC is pretty tough. So going into it, my read on them was they could be 4-8, but they also could be 10-2, 11-1. And they play a lot of really good teams, but if they're really good, it doesn't matter. I really am a huge fan of John Mateer. I think he's probably the best quarterback in the SEC as of today. That could change next week or a month from now or by the end of the season. But as of today, I would put him as the best quarterback in the SEC. Auburn is a really good team right now as well, especially offensively. You know you're going to get in Hugh Freeze offense. One thing that you get a lot of typically, though, is they run a very heavy RPO system. So every given play, it feels like just about the offensive line is blocking as if it's a run play. The running back acts like he's going to run and get a handoff. The quarterback puts the ball in the belly of the running back and either hands it off or throws a backside slant or a hitch or a go route. Basically every play is a pass and a run, and you just have to make the defense wrong. Now, typically, a lot of quarterbacks in that system struggle with turnovers, especially early in their time with Hugh Freeze. And the reason for that is because when teams know that you're running a lot of RPOs, they will try to lie to you. So say, for example, there was a play they had, I believe it was against Baylor, and they're lined up about to run a play, and you could tell he's got a backside slant, and the safety, there's one safety, so you know he's reading that one guy. And he's probably told if he runs in the box, then throw the backside slant behind him. If he stays where he is, feet are flat, hand the ball off. Well, the guy takes like one good step into the box, so he pulls it and throws it to Cam Coleman. And unfortunately for him, the safety did not come into the box, and he obliterated the wide receiver. So in that, you normally see a lot of interceptions and a lot of turnovers in general. So far this year, Jackson Arnold has 0 interceptions on the year. And I think one reason that's been so good for him and for that offense is he's a very good runner. And those times where the read that you were about to throw to is not there, like it looked like it was going to be pre-snap, and he just takes the ball and runs with it. And getting 4 yards is way better than throwing an interception. So that's huge. I mean, Auburn ranks 10th nationally in rushing success rate, 5%. They're averaging 6.6 yards a carry, so solid running game. So Auburn has a lot of reasons to be very positive in this. The defense has looked good. I'm still going to pick Oklahoma, though. As good as Auburn's offense has been, they haven't been very explosive, which I know kind of goes against some of the things I've said before about some teams seem to be boom or bust, some are more consistent. I just really like John Mateer. I like the fight of the Oklahoma team. I think Brent Venables as a defensive coordinator, all he does is lie to you. All he does is make what you're looking at different than what it's actually going to be. And for a whole system that's based off of reading the defense before the snap, and then you snap the ball, they're doing something completely different than what you thought. That's just really not a good recipe. So I trust Brent Venables and his defensive mind. I trust John Mateer at quarterback. I think he's a great runner. I think he's just a baller. He has that kind of that Baker Mayfield or Johnny Manziel, that just kind of oomph to him, that it factor that I just really like. Oklahoma's favored in this. They got him at home. So I think it's a really close game. I think it's a really entertaining game. But I do think Oklahoma does squeak it out. Michigan is going to Nebraska. And it's not often that I see a Big Ten game that really interests me, unless it's, Ohio State, Michigan, or Ohio State versus Penn State versus Michigan, those kind of top teams, Oregon, one of those teams. But Nebraska is very interesting because they have been pretty bad for the most part for my entire lifetime. They have never really been great, but they were great right before I was alive. And the biggest thing that they've been hurt by is they've lost so many one-possession games dating back to even the last coaching staff. They would go 5-7, and all 7 losses were one-possession games. They just barely lost. And under Matt Rule, he has been at Temple, and you look at him, year 1 wasn't very good. Year 2, a little bit better. Year 3, way better. He was at Baylor, really bad. I believe they were 0-12 year 1. Year 2, kind of sucked, wasn't very good. Year 3, I believe won the conference, went to the Sugar Bowl, lost to Georgia, but had a very good year. Now that he's at Nebraska, he's entering year 3. He's got Dylan Raiola at quarterback entering year 2. Who's showed a lot of promising signs as a freshman. In this game, I really want to say Nebraska, just because it's kind of one of those moments where one team has just been at the kids' table for so long, and they're really, really tired of it. And they have such a passionate fan base. Their stadium, even when they are a bad team, they sell out every week. And though Michigan has a great run game and could control the game that way, they're playing like they don't trust Bryce Underwood, which I wouldn't if I were them. He's a true freshman. He's made a couple mistakes here and there. Michigan is playing how I think Florida should play. They're running the ball, leaning on their defense, not making their quarterback do too much. I think Nebraska trusts their quarterback. They're 5th in the country when it comes to passing yards per game at 366. I mean, Michigan's only at 209. So really trust Nebraska to be more explosive in this game. I really like Dane Key at wide receiver, the Kentucky transfer. I'm picking Nebraska in this game because of home field advantage, because I think they're going to be able to be more explosive. I think these are 2 good defenses. I could see this being probably like a 21-17 type game. I think it'll be close. I think Michigan's going to play like they did when they played Oklahoma. I think they're going to play conservative and play not to lose. Hope their defense and run game is enough. I just don't think it'll be enough. I think Nebraska finds a way to win this and to officially be at the big boy table and to start being taken seriously. So, picking Nebraska in that game. Florida at Miami. Again, I wish I had my co-host here with this because I would love to hear their thoughts on how bad Florida is. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. I have some notes on it, but honestly, I don't really think I'm going to talk on them. The big thing here is for Florida, got a good defense, but you have a good run game. You don't run the ball enough. You have a quarterback that's turning the ball over, that's making bad decisions, that's just playing bad, trying to do too much at times. For Miami, they have a really good defense. They have a really good offense. Right now, Carson Beck is the betted favorite to win the Heisman right now. According to Vegas, he is the most likely to win the Heisman Trophy. He's playing dialed. I'm telling you, I told you all offseason leading into these games, told you he's going to be dialed, and he has. He's been playing really well. Their weapons were young, but it was going to be how can they look? I think they look better weapons-wise than they did last year for Miami. I think they have great lines of scrimmage, both offense and defensive line. I think Miami embarrasses them. And a couple weeks ago, my co-hosts were talking about, we beat Miami. We get that revenge from last year. It's not going to be the case. Florida is going to get destroyed in this game, I think. I think best case scenario, they keep it close, but even close is a 13-point loss. You're talking about Carson Beck, who's seen this Florida defense the past 2 years in a row starting, and even before that, just game planning when he was the backup at Georgia. But I just think the lines of scrimmage are the difference. I don't trust Florida to score 20 points. I don't see Miami not scoring more than 24, 28. I think they're probably going to be in the 30 range. Give me the Hurricanes to dominate Florida this week. Number 9, Illinois at Indiana is number 19. This one's an interesting game for me because these are two teams in the Big Ten. You think of the Big Ten, you think of Ohio State, you think of Oregon, you think of Penn State, and then you're kind of figuring out what that next tier is. It's teams like Michigan, we think Nebraska, Illinois, Indiana. Those are all kind of right there in the same. So really interesting game to watch. I think Illinois has kind of been building to this year. They've had a lot of hype coming in this year. They looked really good so far this season. I haven't watched a ton of Indiana, but they have Fernando Mendoza, the former Cal quarterback who's done really well. He's had a great year so far. Illinois does have a very strong defense, though. So we'll see there. I think the big matchup in this is, can Illinois limit Indiana's explosive offense, especially in the passing game? If they are, I think Illinois is probably going to win this game. My pick here, I think, is Illinois. But also I really like Mendoza, and I think he can make some things happen. But I think this is going to be a classic. Indiana plays a good team, and they play to lose by a little bit instead of winning. And one thing I thought was interesting when I was kind of looking at the matchup here, so comparing Illinois' quarterback Altmaier to Indiana's quarterback Mendoza, overall this season, Altmaier is 56 completions, 78 incompletions. 56 to 78. Mendoza is 55 to 76. Yardage, Altmaier 709, Mendoza 708. Touchdowns, Altmaier 8. Touchdowns, Mendoza 9. Guys, these are the same quarterback. Statistically, I'm not saying they're the exact same. I really like Altmaier. I really like Mendoza. I really like both of them. But statistically this year, they're the same quarterback, which is kind of just funny to me in this matchup. So who outplays the other one? But I guess what I'm interested to see here is, can Illinois control the pace of play? Can they keep everything in front of them, make Indiana go down the field in 10, 12, 14 play drives, or do they let Indiana be explosive? That's going to be the deciding factor in the game for me personally. We've got a really good Big 12 matchup with Texas Tech and Utah, number 17 and number 16. I think these are two teams that are very much contending in the Big 12. I think Utah, last year, we thought they were going to come into Big 12 and just be great. They were not that year. So far, they've looked a lot better this year. So they're both undefeated so far. Texas Tech, one thing for them, which they played some lesser than competition for the most part. They're averaging 58 points a game. So they lag to score. Utah's averaging 45.7. So still a good offense. But again, both of them kind of played lesser competition. Utah did beat UCLA, but now that's kind of aged, and we're realizing that wasn't as impressive as a win as we thought it was. So Texas Tech has been very strong defending the run. They've been allowing 41 rushing yards per game so far this season. So I believe when I looked at the stats, they were averaging giving up 1.2 yards a carry. Utah likes to run the ball. So that's going to be a big matchup, is can Utah run the ball consistently? With Morton, Texas Tech quarterback, he's thrown 11 touchdowns, only one interception, completing north of 70%. So he's been consistent. He's been good. Again, we'll see. This is going to be the best defense he's played against yet. Devin Dapier for Utah. I don't one of these sneaky quarterbacks that no one really talked about early in the year, but now people are starting to talk about. He's been very efficient. He's completed 73% of his passes, 275 yards per game. That includes rushing and passing. Just he's a good dual threat. He's kind of one of these do-it-all type quarterbacks. I think I lean Utah here, and a big part of it is because I really trust Kyle Dillingham to be able to play well and play good defense and win in this moment. I believe he's won 80% of his games at Utah in his career as their head coach. I just think Utah is the better team, probably. But Texas Tech has such an explosive offense. It's similar to the last breakdown. Utah cannot let Texas Tech be explosive and get big play and chunk play after chunk play. So that'll be a matchup that I'll be looking at personally. Last game to get to, South Carolina at Missouri. Obviously, I was at South Carolina games past week. It was not pretty. This game is the Battle of the Columbias. For those who don't know, Missouri is in Columbia, Missouri. South Carolina is in Columbia, South Carolina. So my favorite thing is whenever I'm looking at this game every year, I'm like, where's the game played? Oh, it's in Columbia. Wait, that tells me nothing. So I kind of like Missouri. Honestly, I wasn't super high on them coming into this year. Didn't really. I think that's because most people were high on them going into 2024. They had a lot of returning production, and they just didn't really look like it. They just kind of were okay, and I just wasn't the biggest fan of them. This year, they played much better. Pribula has been a very good quarterback for them. He was the one who transferred over from Penn State, couldn't start over Drew Aller. Starter here got hurt. He got put in game one, and he's been balling, dude. He's been looking really good. I believe I have some stats here pulled up. He's 68 of 89, 7 touchdowns. He's also been doing a great job of running the ball. I think the biggest difference maker in this game is Ahmad Hardy, the running back from Missouri. Let me do the math with this because this is just insane. So he has 57 carries and 462 yards. That is an average of 8.1 yards per carry. Every time you hand Ahmad Hardy the football, he gets you 8.1 yards. And he has 5 touchdowns, so he's roughly getting you a touchdown every 10 carries. He is the biggest difference maker in this game. This is why I think South Carolina is going to lose this game. We don't know if Sellers is going to play or not. If he's not going to play, I give them no shot. Even if he is, I don't trust the defense for Missouri to contain. I don't trust South Carolina's offensive line to protect my boy Sellers. I don't think they're going to be able to establish a run game like they haven't been able to all year. I don't think they'll be able to protect Lenore Sellers. I think that's an issue there. And I just think Ahmad Hardy is a dog. I think Missouri is playing a lot better at football. I mean, I thought South Carolina was going to start this year 5-0. Now it's looking like they're going to start out 2-2 so far. So give me Missouri in this football game. I think they win it. I think the Tigers win it. Pribula has been really good. Ahmad Hardy has been really good. And their defense has played very solid so far. So I think that is the biggest difference in this game for me, without getting in too much. If any of that towards the end felt rushed, those games kind of previewing, I hope it didn't. But honestly, after about 10-15 minutes of this podcast, my throat felt like it was about to crash out. My voice is going to go at any minute. Even now, it's hurting. So Hopefully I can drink some green tea here in a minute and it can soothe a little bit. I'm so excited for week 4 of college football this year. Like we just broke down several big games to be excited about. And then, boy, week 5 is stacked. For anyone still here, you're a real one and I appreciate you. So I'm going to look at real quick the games for week 5 because I want y'all to know about how stacked this is for a week from now. But something to look forward to. A little bit of a sneaky game. Ohio State going to Washington. Washington's won, I think, 20 in a row at home. They're sneaky good. Talked about Illinois and how good they are. Let's see if they beat Indiana. They got 25 ranked USC next week. Notre Dame at Arkansas. Noon kick. Entertaining. LSU at Ole Miss, number 3 and number 13. Two really good football teams. This is always a great matchup to watch. Number 22 Auburn at Texas A&M, number 10. That's going to be a really, really fun game to watch. Excited for that. Tennessee, Mississippi State. It's kind of sneaky. Could be a really good football game. Mississippi State has shocked some people so far at how good they looked. Ask Arizona State. That's a fun game to watch. You got Oregon at Penn State, number 6 at number 2 in the country in the same week. All these games. Oh, yeah. And here's the kicker. And Alabama comes to Athens, Georgia to play the Dogs. Number 14 as of right now at number 5. Every time they play, it is an absolutely great game. Georgia's come on the losing end of a lot of those, unfortunately. But I'm excited for next week's slate. It is going to be phenomenal. If you know me and you want to hang out on September 27th, it's not happening. I'm watching football from 12 noon until midnight on that Saturday. I promise you that. And if there's a good Hawaii game on that kicks off at midnight, I'll stay up and watch that because I'll be in just that much of I got to consume as much football mood as possible. But super excited for these next couple weeks. Excited for this weekend. I hope y'all enjoyed. Thank you so much for sticking around. If you did, comment your favorite game of this week, what you're most excited to watch. And if you have any big upsets, whatever your favorite game is, and let me know who you think is going to win that game. That way I know who are the real ones and they watch the whole way. So whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Spotify, whatever else, y'all feel free to drop your comments on your favorite games this weekend. Thanks for sticking around. Sorry that my voice was rough and it was just me. So I just had to push through. But I still think it turned out pretty well. I didn't talk for 2 hours, which I'm stoked about. And yeah, so y'all have a great rest of your week. Y'all have a great weekend watching college football, and God bless. Oh, and we have 40 days until Jacksonville. Y'all have a good one.